Getting a dark and early start today, folks, as BSG released this new Nikita Q&A for Escape from Tarkov at 3 a.m. EST, aka my time zone, except I didn't see it until around 5 a.m. my time since I was asleep. There's a lot of information in here that if you follow me closely, you'll already know, and I'll go over them. But first, there's two major takeaways I wanted to mention up front. The player reports and the lack of Lightkeeper. But first, don't forget to like this video if you do, leave a comment with what you think, and if you're interested in the latest Tarkov news, you can subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and or join the Discord, all linked below. In question 13 of these 13 questions, when discussing cheaters, Nikita said that they will be adding the feedback feature around reports. So at some point in the future, you will know what happened to the people that you reported. Later in the answer, Nikita mentions that he believes the report feature to be the most effective tool in the fight against cheaters, so anything to help support that is important. The second major takeaway from me is brought up with the discussion of a roadmap. I don't know who Hitbox is, I couldn't find specifics, whether it be a person or a publication, but whoever they are, they do not seem to know the way that BSG does things these days, asking for a roadmap. However, it did get a good answer. Nikita said no to the roadmap, of course, but then gave us an update to the current priorities for the team. Nikita said, quote, "Right now we are working on Streets of Tarkov, Arena, and a really big amount of technical stuff related to optimization and networking that's also related to Streets and the future storyline quests." Soon after, he confirmed again that Arena is a separate team, so no matter what happens with Escape from Tarkov, Arena is constantly being worked on as it has a separate team dedicated to it. Nikita finishes the response saying, quote, "Other than that, we're not doing anything new or groundbreaking right now. We're focusing on really big and complicated tasks." Some of you may be asking the really only question I would hope any fan of the game would be asking right now, which is, but what about Lightkeeper? The same Lightkeeper we just got a lore event involving, which by the way isn't over yet, as well as the same Lightkeeper who just 2 months ago was on that list of priorities. On August 27th, Nikita did a podcast with Girls of Tarkov. I'll link my video for that below if you're interested. And in that podcast, he listed the then current list of priorities as the Lighthouse Trader, aka Lightkeeper, Streets, the story quests, and Arena. So again, to be clear, the same priority list he just gave there with Lightkeeper at the top of it, and now Lightkeeper is not on the list. In case you're unfamiliar with how to-do lists work, you usually remove the item that you've finished off the list, or possibly an item that you no longer need to finish or just aren't going to work on, depending on your current outlook on the project. So one of these things is absolutely true, and I'll leave it up to you guys to make your own opinion about it. Either Nikita forgot to mention one of the most important additions to the game in years as something that they were working on, or Lightkeeper is finished and the lore event that we just saw, which by the way isn't over yet, involving Lightkeeper is in fact the lead up to the patch with his release, or he's frozen and or some way or another removed from development. Given that Lightkeeper is actually more important to the game itself than Streets or Arena is at this point, my money is on him still being in the game, in which case if BSG hit a brick wall some way or another that froze his development, why are they doing lore events with live action storytellers about a character who's tied to him directly, and they even mention him directly? Which, by the way, I'll say it again, is not over yet. There is still more to come. So yeah, that's the facts there. Lightkeeper is extremely important to the game. He has been on the priority list for well over a year now, and just today, Nikita did a new Q&A where he didn't mention him as a priority. You are welcome to think what you want, but I think that's a clear sign Lightkeeper is finished and BSG are just building up the events in-game for his release. The only question now is, do we get him with the New Year's patch or sooner? We'll have to wait and see. So those are my major takeaways from this Q&A, but I'll go through all of the questions for anyone interested. Hitbox, who, by the way, again, I couldn't find anything on, so apologies if this is a creator or a publication. I literally couldn't find information on them. If you guys know, let me know in the comments, and I will add them to the description so you guys can go check them out. So whoever they are asked if there will be more location expansions, and Nikita answered most likely in the future, but everyone associated with maps are on Streets right now, as they see that as the priority and don't have plans for expansions, but will be coming later. I think what he means here, without coining the keyword, is things around map-to-map travel. If they accomplish map-to-map travel in Tarkov, there will be filler areas between the maps to bring them together. This is actually something that he has discussed in somewhat good detail in the past, and there could easily be some interesting things inside that filler. Hitbox then asked about balancing, and Nikita said he's said several times now there will be a complete rework of everything before release. So to be clear, he has said several times in the past, every aspect of the game that requires balancing will be reworked in the future. In the past, he's explained in better detail about this, as you can't have a final state of balancing without out all of the features that affect that balance. So they can make small tuning changes here and there, but major sweeping balance changes will come with a more feature-complete game. Next, there was a question about future in-game events and what they've learned. Nikita responded saying, first of all, statistics, and that they gathered a lot of data on what happened with the players during the events. He said they will use that data to curate better events in the future, aka they noticed how many people actually took part or gave money for Lightkeeper, and may or may not do something like that, again, based on that data. Next question was asked about custom rig and armor hitbox feature. We knew the rig portion of this feature was frozen, while the hitbox portion of this feature themselves will be added soon TM. Nikita also clarifies at the end with a few more specifics than we usually get, saying the heavy weight will drain mobility, which wasn't said before, and now, although it seemed obvious, we do now know stims will help with that weight. Before, we didn't know exactly what was going to be happening with the weight and with the rigs themselves or the armor hitboxes. We didn't know specifics about how that will function past where the plates will go and how the pouches will work. Now what's in question is how that will affect your movement whenever you like aim side to side or you try to turn side to side. General movement, which it seems like it's going to drain your mobility, which if that is the case, then we now know that stims will help with that. However, around the time that should show up in the game, addiction should also be in the game, so you'll need to be careful. Later on, there was a question about offline co-op, and Nikita said you will be able to fully set up the raids how you want, and there will be a lot of cool tweaks that will be added features into co-op. In case you haven't checked out offline co-op yet, it's very limited right now, so it's good to hear a lot more freedom, if not possibly full freedom, is coming. There was a question about the companion app, and Nikita said they actually have all of the art assets ready, but they haven't started working on the app yet. He said there's a high possibility that it will be available upon release, which by the way isn't a publicly known thing, so I have to be honest, I'm not sure why he keeps saying it. That does not tell us anything. That could be a year away or 2 years or more away. We don't know, to be clear there, so no release date or even a window has been given to us. Hitbox then asks about a creative mode or observer perspective in offline, and Nikita confirmed there will be something that allows a spectator to free look and record custom perspectives. This is something that is a long time coming, and I think Nikita really wants this to be a thing in games specifically in some way, shape, or form, so I would expect to see it in the future. Hitbox then essentially asked for active gameplay inside the hideout with something like a scav breach or something could happen. Nikita responds saying there will be a lot more coming to the hideout, but nothing as active as fighting off scavs. It's very much a passive and idle feature to the game. He did say he's going to think about it, but given the current stage of development, I wouldn't count on anything becoming a thing. Hitbox then asked a big question about AI and how they act, and Nikita did give a long answer here, but he has talked about this a lot in the past, and BSG have never really given much specifics to it, other than they are just constantly being developed. The same thing happens here, and he finishes off by saying even after release, there will be changes to their behavior. Again, mentioning release, but we have no date or even a window for release, to be clear. Hitbox then asks a good question here that I've been getting a lot lately as I cover games that are like Escape from Tarkov. They ask what Nikita and BSG think about other companies copying Escape from Tarkov. Nikita essentially gave them the same answer he's always given, but it's good to have heard this now with some real competition around. The last time they talked about this, there wasn't any of these games that we're now thinking about, or at least they definitely hadn't been released yet. He said direct copies are not good things around stealing assets, but in general, it's always a good thing when someone is trying to make something better without any negative effects or statements. It's always a good thing for the game dev industry. It's a pleasure for us that we created something new, and it's okay if a game utilizes a mechanic from Escape from Tarkov. But if it's a direct copy or ripoff, then we don't support it. On that note, there are actually small unknown studios ripping off assets and stuff like that, but most of you guys will never see or hear about those games. A lot of them are mobile. But like you mentioned here, for the larger games, which I'm assuming are games like DMZ, Dead Drop, Marauders, Psycho Frontier, and alike, BSG are completely on board and want to see them be successful just as much as any other studio that they work alongside. The next question was about a Steam release, and Nikita responds with the usual, yes, it's not a problem. BSG will very likely, up practically to the point of confirmation, that Tarkov will be released on Steam. We just can't say yes yet because it just literally hasn't happened yet. But it is something that BSG have now for years said that they will do. The very last question that Hitbox asked Nikita was about cheaters, which we covered at the beginning, and it's more of the same other than that part about the reports. BSG are constantly fighting cheaters, and they are sticking with BattlEye into the future. Reminder to always report people you actually believe to be cheating. Big takeaway here is BSG sees the player reports as the most useful tool, so do not forget to use it. And that's going to do it for today. Let me know what you guys think of this Lightkeeper stuff. It makes a lot of sense, especially with this new event, but it doesn't doesn't always mean I'm right, unfortunately. All things considered, I think it's a sign we're very close to a release, and we are currently waiting for that next step in an event that is now very likely to lead us to that release of Lightkeeper, so stay tuned for that. The best way to do that would be on my Twitter and the Discord, both linked below. For more Tarkov content, check out these playlists here. If you like this video, then you know the drill. Please subscribe. I really appreciate the people who do. Otherwise, I hope you have a nice day. See you guys.